I'm Alex Haugland.
And I'm Amy Haugland.
And this is our 1994 Lancia Delta Integrale Evo 2.
From the beautiful Timberline Lodge in Mount Hood, Oregon, welcome to Everyday to Exotic.
Let's go. In this episode,
we discuss elephants. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Haha, it's so cute.
Amy appreciates car security.
You don't want people to be taking your stuff. And I am taken out of context. You don't want a car with unlimited bombs.
All this and more on today's episode of Everyday to Exotic. There's over 200 cars in the Haugland collection.
And it just keeps growing.
Our goal is to try and drive them all.
Each episode, we'll talk about the car's history, showcase its design and features, and dive into its mechanicals.
Then we'll take it out on a drive through the beautiful roads of Oregon.
Finally, we'll rate our car to see where it stands in the Haugland rank. But first, let's take a look into the car's history.
Lancia, from its early 20th century origins, had established itself as a leading Italian builder of high-quality, technically advanced cars. As a relatively small producer, building brilliantly engineered but more expensive cars, however, the company had fallen on hard times and by the end of the 1960s had been wholly absorbed in the Italian automotive behemoth that is Fiat.
Fiat, in turn, generally used the Lancia name for its more upscale, sporty models in order to carry on the reputation that Lancia had already earned. They continued to invest in selling the brand on that image and actively campaigned Lancia cars in rally racing, beginning with a Constructors' Championship title for the Lancia Fulvia Coupe in 1972, then with other legendary rally cars such as the purpose-built Stratos.
By the mid-1970s, the pre-Fiat Lancia models were all being phased out and new models introduced to take their place. At that time, Fiat shifted the naming convention for Lancia cars from being named after historic Roman roads to adopting Greek letters to designate the models, with cars like the Beta, Gamma, and in this case, Delta.
The origins of the Lancia Delta began as an entry into the four-door hatchback market, which had become a dominant design with the introduction of cars like the Volkswagen Golf, which had premiered in 1974. Fiat hired Giorgetto Giugiaro, designer of the Golf, to design their new hatchback, releasing the first production car in 1979.
The new car featured a four-cylinder engine and a transverse front-wheel drive layout originally sourced from the Fiat Ritmo. It was tuned for more power, with fully independent suspension, rack and pinion steering, and a range of optional comfort-oriented extras. Another distinct feature of the car was that it premiered with color-matched bumpers, and Lancia claimed that the Delta was the first car to do this.
The Lancia Delta was an immediate success and was voted as the 1980 European Car of the Year. With the aim of competition, a more sporting variant of the Delta was developed, called the Delta HF, premiering in 1983. The new HF received a variant of the Fiat twin-cam engine, which had originally been designed in 1968 for the Fiat 124 by Aurelio Lampredi after he left Ferrari. This same engine had already been introduced in the Lancia lineup as the engine in the Lancia Beta, and had also proven itself in rally in cars like the Fiat 131 Abarth, which had won the Constructors' Championship in 1977, 78, and 80.
In order to compete in rally racing, Lancia was required to homologate the upgrades of the race cars by selling a certain number of commercially available cars with the same features. Since Audi had just revolutionized rally racing with the Quattro, Lancia worked on changing their cars to become competitive in the rapidly evolving world of rally racing, with the turbo being added in 1985. In 1986, the car also received an all-wheel drive drivetrain. These cars continued to develop with further engine upgrades and changes, culminating in the Lancia Delta HF Evo cars appearing in the early 1990s. After the 1993 season, however, Lancia retired from rally racing, but by that point the Lancia Delta HF cars had entered legendary status, having won the World Rally Championship an unprecedented 6 times between 1987 and 1992, which is still a world record.
Our car is a Lancia Delta HF Integrale Evo 2, originally sold new in Japan and then imported to the United States. It had been modified with upgraded suspension, additional bracing, and various aftermarket modifications while in Japan. Under our ownership, we have removed some of the extraneous modifications and made some small repairs to the car, but otherwise have simply enjoyed driving it.
You can really tell that Giorgetto Giugiaro was the designer of this car. When you look at the general shape and everything, the forms and all of that really echo the earlier design that he did for the Volkswagen Golf. When this car premiered in 1979, the Golf was already out there as one of the best-selling, most influential car designs done to date, and Giorgetto Giugiaro was responsible for both. It made sense in a lot of ways for him to take the very economical, very efficient design that he did for the Golf and kind of carry the influence forward into the basic version of the Lancia Delta. That said, this is not the basic version of the Lancia Delta. This is the very end of the design as it has evolved over time, and the sporting version of the design. So there's a lot of extra features that have come into this car in the production. We have a much more raised hood. We get a little bit more curves and things like that than what the original Golf would have had. By the 90s, that very square design was starting to get a little bit more flowing again. And so raised hood, we have our fenders with these pronounced box flares to clear bigger, wider tires than you would have on your normal little city family car. And of course, much more aggressive styling because we want this car to not just be cool, we want it to look cool.
And you need to know that it's cool. And so this is an example of what happens when you actually change the styling a little bit when you make the cool, up-trim, sporty version, unlike some other cars that we've talked about. Something I think that's important is while this has more curves, it still very much has that kind of folded paper creased look to it, which is very, very, very 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and very much what Giorgetto Giugiaro was famous for.
I love cars that look like they belong in the era in which they were designed, and this really does.
As we come to the front, one of the innovative things that was introduced with the Lancia Delta in 1979, which is really a new thing in the car world at the time, is color-matched bumper covers. It was one of the very first cars, if not the very first car, to have them, and now you see on every vehicle on the road today.
You'll notice up here in the front, there's not a lot of bright work on this car. Chrome was out at this stage. It just wasn't as cool anymore. So up here you just have a little bit framing the front grille here. You have a little bit on the badge. And you have this little guy. It's HF, that stands for high fidelity. And starting in the 1960s, Lancia put that symbol on pretty much all of their up-trim, sporty, cool models. And while I'm talking about that, let's talk about the elephant in the room, haha. So we have this cute little elephant on the high fidelity logo.
Little leaping elephant.
It's so cute. And the question is, why is there an elephant? And we don't know, absolutely. But the popular story is they were looking for an animal to represent the high performance vehicles. Somebody said, well, how about an elephant? And the other people in the meeting said, why an elephant? That's not particularly fast. And the person said, maybe not, but once they get going, you can't stop them. That is why we have an adorable leaping elephant.
And elephants may be a better choice for a rally car than one would think. They basically run forever through whatever terrain. Take them over the Alps if you want, if your name's Hannibal or something along that line. Italian connections here too, so
yeah.
Definitely a good all-terrain animal. Kind of carrying across the front, we have our European-style Integrale plate. Wouldn't have originally been on the car, but we like having it on here, so that way it helps people know what the heck they're looking at here in the United States, although it doesn't tell them much. So high-performance car, we've got 4 headlights, our driving lights and our normal headlights. Fog lights down below, integrated in the bumper. This one has a bit of moisture in it, so right now it's a bit foggy as a fog light. Our turn signals are beautifully integrated into the bumper cover. And then, moving up, we get into the hood. We, of course, want to make the car look aggressive. One of the ways to make a car look aggressive is you put vents all over it. Some of the vents do things, some of them really don't. These 2 little ones on the side, if you look at them, basically are blocked off underneath, so they don't really have much direct function at the moment. This one allows some of the air through the radiator and such to escape rather than flowing up over the engine. So that actually does serve a function, at least for this section from here to here. That section over there is blocked off as well, but it's balanced as long as you have it set up this way. And then back here, you have your openings for your heating and air conditioning over on that side, and then another area here where to let heat out from underneath the hood.
Something else I think is interesting about the vents that is different from a lot of other cars is their color match to the body. Other cars would have like black plastic or rubber vents, or they'd be chromed or something like that. But these just blend right in.
But are still obviously there.
Oh yes, yes.
Moving back a little bit more, our wiper arms are really sculpted with the idea of airflow going over the wiper and helping to push the wiper blade to the window, as well as being sturdy and solid, which is what you'd want pretty much on a rally car where you're driving through mud and dirt and everything else, as well as rain and snow and whatever else may be coming down at you. So good wipers are very important on a rally car.
Yes. You need to be able to see. Here we are in the profile of the car. There's not a lot that calls attention to itself. There are a few things. I mean, we have a light. That's important. We also have our little high fidelity HF logo with multiple little elephants. I don't know, it just makes me happy. They're really cute. Also here, there's a vent behind the wheel, and that is to help get hot air away from the brakes.
At least in theory.
At least in theory. It's not a very big vent.
The wheel itself is one that was specifically designed for the Lancia here, and is a nice, very, very solid alloy wheel that was standard on all of the last of the Evo cars, at least.
I like that the Lancia logo is on the wheel, and then there's another one right here, and it's not all over the place, but you do get the little touches here and there to remind you that this is a Lancia. Also up here, we have the mirror. The mirror is a boxy color match to the car, and it has this sort of little rubber boot that matches and sort of integrates with the seals around the windows. That allows for better aerodynamics because it produces a solid surface there, and it allows the mirror to fold in. One of the things that makes this car still a practical family car is that despite the fact that it's not very long, it has 4 full doors. And I really like the door handles. They're, again, very 90s, very square, very plastic.
And fairly flush to the body. So
yes.
Not much to catch things on or have to worry about aerodynamically. One interesting thing is our fuel filler here with its little bolted ring around it, which makes it look pretty sporty. And unleaded fuel. The way that it works is that you use the key to unlock it, and then the entire center pops out as a plug. Put your gas in, reverse the process, shove it in, make sure it's shoved all the way in, and then lock it up again.
And that's, again, very practical. It helps you not lose your gas cap, because if you lose your gas cap, you've lost your keys, and then you have bigger problems.
It does make this car very, very annoying to fill on any of the US gas pumps that happen to have that vapor capturing springy thing that makes it very hard to actually insert the filling nozzle all the way into the car. So, downside of European cars, they didn't have those in the 80s over in Europe, and we're now stuck with them here now, especially in places like California. Okay, coming around the back, one thing that's very obvious on this car, being an Evo 2, is it has the spoiler that sticks up and, in theory, helps control airflow over the car. I don't know how much actual function it does, at least on a street car. Probably intended to basically be there and look more like the rally version, not necessarily serving much true function.
More decorative. Looks cool.
We've got a rear wiper, which is also, again, good on a rally car. And frankly, with the glass and everything here being at the angle that it is, it's actually nice to have if you're in the rain. Lancia emblem, Italian flag. And then, as we move down, we get our Integrale badge, very clearly marked in bright, bright blue with yellow text.
You'll also notice back here that this license plate holder is sized for a European license plate.
It's very hard to get a US plate to fit in here in any nice way. This is the best we could do as far as a bracket. This car was originally sold in Japan, which uses very similar plates. It was hard to fit that plate too, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
And then you'll see our giant exhaust tip. This car does not have stock exhaust on it. I'll just say that right now. Here we have our emergency tow hook coming through the bumper cover, just in case we need to tow the car backwards, pull it out of whatever ditch you rallied it into in the snow. And then a handle in the center here to open up the boot, the trunk. The hatch is held up by your typical gas-operated shock absorbers. These things always fail. These have already been replaced in this car. Spare tire is one of the first things you'll see inside the trunk here. And then if you look in the back, we have a strut tower brace that runs basically across the two rear struts. I don't think you'd have any problem fitting, with the spare tire in here, a good 4 or 5 boxes of wine, just without doing anything.
And that should be enough for anyone.
In theory.
In theory. But you might be hauling wine for your friends.
Yes. I don't know how many demijohns that is. Take a look at our Fiat Panda video if you wonder what I'm talking about there. But again, Giorgetto Giugiaro must have liked his wine because he made big trunks for cars. And fitting wine was literally a measurement that they were using. Our suspension on this car isn't stock. So if you look in the back here, we have little adjustment knobs for adjusting the adjustable coilover suspension. And then one other really nice feature is after you've put all your wine in here, you have this cover that when you close the hatch, hides it from view. So it takes care of my biggest complaint about station wagons and SUVs is I don't want to have people seeing what I've got hidden in the back.
You're gonna park, you're gonna go look at stuff, and you don't want people to be taking your stuff.
Only other thing, nice tinted glass in the back with, of course, heating. Also a good requirement for rally because if you're rallying in the snow, your windows fog up. Okay, let's go and close up the back.
Couple final little details while we're back here. We have the electrical antenna that is extended and retracted from inside the car. Very cool and fancy.
Just turn on the radio.
And then also back here, we have another vent on both sides. And this is to let air pressure from the interior cabin out into the regular world. Let's have Alex go to the engine bay.
Okay, off we go. So the engine in our Lancia Delta has its origins dating back to actually 1966, where Aurelio Lampredi, who was an engineer for Ferrari, ended up coming over to Fiat and he designed what became the Fiat twin-cam engine for the Fiat 124. That engine has evolved multiple times through many years, essentially from 66 up to this car, and is essentially the same basic concept of an engine design as what is in here. Now, some of those changes are pretty significant. First off, of course, it's a turbocharged car, so it's a turbocharged variant. It's gone from only 8 valves to 16 valves. The engine in this car also is now mounted in a transverse form as opposed to inline to the body of the car. And so it's really evolved quite a bit to this level. But the foundations of that engine do date back to the Lampredi design. And that Lampredi design is the most winning rally engine ever, because not just in the Lancia Delta, but it also was in other Lancias and other Fiat Abarths and things like that were successful rally cars throughout the 80s and into the 90s. So this really is sort of the culmination of that rally heritage coming together in this car. The other big change that came into this with the HF models, however, was adapting it to compete in rally against cars like the Audi Quattro that had come out with all-wheel drive. To basically make this a competitive car, they had to make this car all-wheel drive as well. And so they used a system that they already had, but then improved upon it in many ways. So that all-wheel drive system is a huge part of where the success for this car came from. So you, of course, have a front differential that is a free-floating front differential. The center differential is a Ferguson viscous coupling center differential that actually biases somewhat to the front of the car, while the rear differential is actually a Torsen limited slip differential, which basically is a very intelligent differential design that it never fully locks up, but it tends to always bias power to the wheels independent of if a wheel slips. So it's a very good setup for a rally car like this. And it's a huge part of why this car was such a successful rally car. So let's look at the details in the engine bay. One of the things that you'll see here is this strut brace across the suspension towers. That is actually a factory part on this car. That was one of the things that they ended up changing when they raised the strut towers, changing the suspension. They had to put a brace in to basically stabilize and stiffen the car itself. So Unlike most cars that have these fitted aftermarket, this one is actually a factory fitted part. One of the big changes with the Evo 2 is a big change in the engine management on this car. This car actually has an ECU that was designed by Magneti Marelli, and it basically allows it to have a lot more control over the engine and things along that line. We have anti-lock brakes. We've got our 2 coil packs here on this side. We do have power steering. We do have our turbo tucked way down here. This car has the one optional feature that was available on the Delta Evo 2, which is air conditioning. So we have an air conditioning compressor tucked over here in the back. Otherwise, our air box is here. We've got our intercooler here, allowing airflow to come through and cool the charge after the compressor of the turbo feeds in before it goes in the intake of the engine itself. Batteries on that side, kind of tucked in the corner behind the headlight. And as you can see, there really isn't a lot of extra room here. They made a very good job of using every inch of space. Even sort of what would normally be the rain tray with our heater box and everything has extra things stuck in it. We have our overflow bottle for the radiator here. Over there is our power steering reservoir. It's really just a packed in engine bay with everything that they could put in to make this a very effective car. As mentioned, the vents in the hood, some of them are more functional than others. This, you can see underneath, pulls hot air coming in off the radiator, and rather than ducting it over the engine, it ducts it out through the hood opening. And so it allows the airflow to actually come through and out, as opposed to being trapped by sitting right around the turbo where the engine is. With the engine bay as tight as it is, it becomes much more critical to have airflow allowing the hot air to escape, not just allow the air to come in. So to keep that full-time four-wheel drive system planted firmly on the ground, the suspension on the car is fully independent in the form of McPherson struts, front and rear. And in this case, of course, as we mentioned in the back, we have adjustable coilover front suspension on this car. That's aftermarket. That was put on by a previous owner, along with the camber plates and everything else that are fitted with it. So, of course, in order to also get power from the engine to the drivetrain, you do have your transmission. In this case, it's a 5-speed manual, pretty basic gearbox in concept, and transversely mounted, it sits about here in the engine bay. The other thing you'll notice in here that's always kind of entertaining whenever you have imported cars is you get interesting stickers from wherever the car comes from. So we have Japanese stickers in the engine bay that probably duplicate much of what would have been on the original European stickers for this car. But in order to basically make it readable in Japan, to meet Japanese code, you almost certainly had to have Japanese warning labels, which there are several of on here. If you saw the episode on our imported Fiat Panda 4x4, which also came from Japan, it also has some of these entertaining labels. And it can be fun to sit down with Google Translate and find out what they actually say. And with that, we'll move on to Amy in the interior.
Welcome to the interior. This car is not a luxury vehicle. I think that that's very important to mention. It's fabric, vinyl, and plastic in here. Fit and finish, not as much of a priority as making sure that it was a cool and affordable car. And also realize that this is the 1990s. So plastic, big thing, 1990s. The seats are the most special thing. These are Recaro seats. Recaro makes racing seats, which is why these bolsters are so good and why the seats are honestly very comfortable. I really like the ride in this car. I am not tired when I get out of it. The fabric, it's called Alcantara, and it does look cool. However, it doesn't wear well over time. It is soft, it is nice, but it's not long lasting. I think it's interesting the ceiling is also lined in the same fabric. It's cool. It lightens up the interior of the car, which I like. So let's start looking at the dashboard. We'll start from over here. We have a shelf. It's vinyl. Glove box. Pretty roomy, pretty standard. We have our usual gauges. There's, oil pressure and oil and water temperature. It is in degrees Celsius because this was bought in Japan and is an Italian car. So we are dealing with the metric system, which means that sometimes I, as an American, have to do some math. And that's okay. I've got a tachometer here. I have, of course, fuel gauge, battery. The speedometer is in kilometers per hour. This is pretty normal. I have various lights that tell me when things are on or things are not working. And those are all very important. I do like that all of that is right here in front of the driver. That's, you can keep track of all those things. So the steering wheel is factory installed. It's not necessarily the original Lancia Delta steering wheel, but it is original to this car. It was installed at the factory. It's a Momo Corse steering wheel, which is a racing wheel. So it's fancy. It's got the neat sort of bolt pattern like the fuel filler. Lancia in the middle. The horn is in the correct place. We did not put this radio in. I feel like that's a very important thing to say. We also don't like this radio. But it is a very 90s radio. Some of you may be old enough to remember when we had to take the faces off of our radios when we left our car so that they wouldn't get stolen. Yeah, this is that kind of radio. I'm not demonstrating. It's not happening. Down here, I have some wonderful clicky buttons. I've got, my heater defrost button, fog lights, things like that, hazards, rear windshield washer, rear windshield wiper. That is not easy to say. Air conditioning controls here. Turn it on and off with this button. This turns up the fan, this changes the temperature, this is your recirculation button, and then this tells you what you want defrosted and what you don't want defrosted. You can choose zones. Here is the all-important ashtray with your cigarette lighter, which we are much more likely to use to charge our phones at this point. Gear shift. Shifting is very easy in this car. Many Italian cars have the shift pattern on the shifter. This one does not. However, I have a little sticker down here that tells me what my shift pattern is. It's a 5-speed. As we work our way down, I have a little plaque down here that says Lancia Delta HF High Fidelity Integrale Edizione Finale, Final Edition. So this is the end of the line, the Evo 2. Parking brake. Electric window controls down here. It's kind of awkward, I have to say, the positioning on those. Front gets electric windows. Back, you gotta wind them down. So, the passengers kind of get the short end of the stick there. The front door is cool. I like all of the different decorative elements. We have those ridges there, the pocket, and then why do we have decorative perforations? Because it looks cool. That's why. The fun part of the front door, the fun part, it's also very practical, is how we adjust the mirrors. So you turn it and it moves it, and then if you push or pull, then it moves the mirror out and back. So this is how you make it so that you can see behind you. This is a remarkably comfortable back seat, especially if you have someone my height sitting in front of you, because you get a little more legroom that way. One of the interesting things back here is this frame brace thing. We didn't put that in. It makes it a little less comfortable to sit back here because it's in your foot room. In any case, you do get shoulder belts in the back seat. It is extra safe. Unless you're in the middle, then you're only mostly safe. But a cool detail back here is the buckle has the Lancia logo on it. Something that you can see way better from back here than you could from the front is these cutouts in the front seats. Aside from giving me a headache occasionally because my head keeps smacking right against those, what those are actually for is for a racing harness. So if you are really rallying this car and you want to be really secure in your seat, you can thread a racing harness through there and fit that. We don't have that. We don't race this car. And that's about it for the interior. It really is nice in here. And it's even nicer out there. So let's go. So here we are. I like this car. This is the first time I've driven this car. As tradition dictates on our channel these days, I have discovered that I have a very real fondness for 80s and 90s cars. And it's for a very simple reason that I don't have to work as hard. They have discovered that short people also enjoy driving. They, as in car manufacturers. The car is in a format that I am familiar with, that I recognize. It's close enough to my daily driver that I don't have to make a lot of adjustments, which is very nice. But I'm still very involved with the operation of the car. It's involved enough to keep me awake and not try to drive for me, which I hate about modern cars. I hate that. But it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to learn because the turn signal's on the wrong side.
It's not a BMW, so you don't have to worry about that.
It's not a BMW, so I don't have to worry about that. The shifter's good. The clutch is easy. The steering is easy, very precise, not over boosted just enough. But this car in particular is delightful. I love it. It's so fun to drive. It has so much pep, but unlike some modern Porsches, I don't feel like it's gonna get squirrely and out of control.
It feels nimble.
It feels nimble. It really does. And yet it has, some of the creature comforts. I love that it has bolsters. The bolsters make me very happy because they keep me where I need to be. I have good visibility. It's safe yet exciting. And it's a car that also feels like I could drive it every day. Honestly.
By this point in time, I think most car manufacturers have finally figured it out.
Yeah.
So it's an advantage of the 80s and 90s cars that you like.
Yes.
By this point in time, most of them are pretty good cars. A lot of the little idiosyncrasies tend to be gone.
I mean, in some cars I find those little idiosyncrasies endearing.
Well, it's part of why I like the classic cars. I like the idiosyncrasies. I like having to learn how to drive it, being that involved in driving it.
Yes.
The nice thing with this is it has enough feedback that you can still enjoy driving it.
Yes. It doesn't separate you from the road. There are some cars that make you feel, in some ways, sort of like the Citroen DS. I feel very floaty. I don't feel very connected to the road.
Yeah.
And this being a rally car, I feel like they said, okay, even if you're not rallying it, you want that good experience. This car is very easy to go fast in.
Yep.
This is not my usual little slow car. This is a small, fast car. It's not a Ferrari. It's not about showing off, which I sometimes feel like Ferraris, that's part of the brand. It's part of what they like. Let's make sure you know this is a Ferrari. Whereas earlier today at the gas station, we had somebody say to us, he came up, he looked at it, and he's like, all right, who makes that? And then Alex had to explain, Lancia, and the fact that they didn't sell these in the US.
And you say Lancia to pretty much almost every American, and they look back at you with a blank stare.
Yes.
Lancia's
Lancia who?
not well known in the States, except by those who know, and those who know love this car.
Yes. It was really funny, though, because he said, yeah, I was thinking that's the weirdest VW I ever saw.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we...
Giugiaro designed both, so
Exactly.
stylistically I can see where he's coming from, but...
It is one of those things that if you don't know, you don't know, and that's okay. This is a good car. The acceleration is good. The brakes are good. The clutch is easy. Shifting is easy, and it's definite. It's easy to tell when you're in gear. I like that because I like that feedback. I like the car to tell me when I've done what I need to do without bonging at me. I appreciate that very much. This car has limited bongs. That sounded weird. Please don't take that out of context. You don't want a car with unlimited bongs. This is a perfect day to drive, period, and especially to drive this car.
Past few days, it's been pouring rain with like record high rainfall.
And we've been hearing about flooding and stuff in other parts of the country, and I mean, we're grateful for this day, honestly, because we don't have very many good filming days in the wintertime. Having this it's a treat. It's a treat. We're sorry, Mother Nature, for all the terrible things that we do to you to get this treat, but it's a treat. We appreciate it.
And we've been waiting for sort of the right weather conditions to film this car for how we want to present it.
Yes.
And today is looking like our best shot at it, so we're leaping on the opportunity, which means we're going a bit further afield. We are heading up to Mount Hood, Oregon, for filming this.
Yes.
And Mount Hood is a mountain fairly near Portland, Oregon. You can see it from Portland, Oregon. It's one of the higher mountains in the state. Beautiful mountain, beautiful ski area, fantastic area to go summer or winter. And so it should be really nice up there.
They haven't had a lot of skiing this year because it's been a very dry winter generally. Really hoping we don't have a fire season this year, or a bad fire season. But in this moment, this is gorgeous, and I love this state. Honestly, it has its disadvantages, just like everything else. Every state has, things that are good, things that could use improvement. But in general, this state enjoys whimsy, and I appreciate that.
Yes,
a lot.
As whimsical people, we quite appreciate that.
Yes, I think there should be more whimsy. Anyway.
We're also driving through fun towns.
Yes.
Coming here, we drove through Boring, Oregon, partnered with Dull, Scotland.
Yes,
We're approaching the town of Zigzag.
Which is why if this is one of those states that if you are looking for a town for every letter of the alphabet,
this is a good place to be.
It's a good place to be. The West Coast is great for that. We've got Yelm.
Yeah.
And we've got Zigzag. I don't know if we have one that starts with X though.
No, that's a hard one.
That's very hard. We should start a township. Call it Xerxes or something.
Just for the sake of it.
Just for the sake of it.
This is a car I have wanted for a long time, and it took me quite a while to find exactly what I wanted. I'd even hoped at one point when we were traveling in Italy that I'd be able to find one there at a show that we were at there. And they had them, but they were actually more expensive in Italy than they were in the United States, which I found somewhat surprising since they never sold them here. At the same point, they're really, really cool cars. They're rare in the United States, and it's a special car. It drives like it's a special car. It doesn't drive like much of anything else I've driven sort of the era. It's very nimble, it's quick, it's fun when the turbo kicks in, it's nice to drive in general, and it is a car I could easily see me driving every day. It is not a quiet car. I mean, I hear little rattles kind of everywhere. It's sort of the nature of cars made out of plastics after a few decades. There's a lot of tire noise. There's definitely a little bit of stiffness in the suspension, although aftermarket suspension, I don't know how much it's better or worse than the original. So,
but there is kind of a constant thrum.
Yeah, but at the same point, it's light, it's nimble, it's responsive. It's the kind of car that if you really want to, you just basically sit up in the rev range, stay over 3,000 RPM all the time, and you can basically punch it whenever you want and just make it take off. So it's like coming along nicely, then just build up speed, and it just builds and builds and builds. But it shifts easily. It's not the fastest accelerating car I have. It's not the sportiest car I have. But there are very few that feel this usable in many ways.
It's remarkably smooth, considering how sporty it actually is.
Yeah. It's a good momentum car. The turbo helps, but I don't have like a boost controller on this or anything anymore. It had one when we put it on that would actually talk to you in Japanese when you started the car. I didn't like that. It was very annoying. So that went away. And I don't necessarily want to heavily modify this, but in general, this is just a very pleasant car to drive. I could drive it every day. I could easily see it being an only car for a lot of people if you wanted another car that you could really enjoy. I mean, if I were to compare this to anything, it's probably closer to like my Subaru WRX STI that I had.
Yes.
It's kind of the same sort of balanced, good handling car. This feels lighter. It feels a little bit more nimble in many ways. It doesn't quite have the power of the STI, but at the same point, the power it has is pretty good. It still feels very, very planted. You come around the corner and you just feel like you can just carry all the speed you want through it. Starting to get up into the mountains here, and starting to get much more interesting scenery. The great thing is you come around a hill like this, and now you're looking up at a mountain. It's top encased in clouds, but snow through all of its lower slopes. Basically from the tree line up. And as we climb, we'll just get more and more and more.
You're much quicker on the shifter than I am.
And now we climb the hill.
Which this car does admirably. The other nice thing about this car is I feel like it really is an all-weather car. I wouldn't want to necessarily drive it on ice or anything like that, but...
With the right tires, it'd be not too bad. But,
yes.
I mean, ice is bad no matter what.
Yes. It would be if you had to.
Yes.
You could.
Again, that's what rally cars are about. It's about being able to drive in all kinds of conditions, all kinds of traffic conditions.
That's true. We are getting to drive some fun roads today.
Yep, absolutely. One nice thing about Oregon is we don't salt our roads. So even though I'm driving through snow and things like that, I don't have to worry about rust on this car as a result of driving in these conditions. That is a massive advantage that the state has. It has to be really, really, really bad before they look at putting anything down other than a bit of sand or gravel. And they've clearly graveled this road, so the car will get filthy, but it won't rust. But this feels like the kind of road this was built for in a lot of ways. Even if this were gravel, this feels like the kind of road this was built for.
Yes.
Because it's just basically curve after curve after curve, winding up the hill through the snow.
I also love that as you go around these curves, the bolsters are holding me in place, so knitting is not a problem. I don't have to brace myself.
And it's one of those, you don't really need to touch the brakes for the most part on this hill. At most, you let off the throttle, but you can basically drive the car entirely with the gas pedal. Beautiful sweeping curves. Further up the hill.
And it feels like around every curve there's another beautiful view.
Absolutely.
Travel Oregon really should be sponsoring this.
Now we're coming up on the historic Timberline Lodge that you see in the intro of this video. And the other great thing about this is we're adding yet another scenic byway to this show.
Oh, that's true.
We've driven quite a few of them in Oregon. There's still a few we haven't hit that I definitely want to do.
Like what?
Well, Columbia Gorge area and things like that, there are some that are worth doing. Part of the issue was that, at least this year, a lot of that was under construction, so it wasn't really a good area for us to go and film. I thought about it. We explored the idea, but my favorite area to drive was closed, so meh.
Meh. Well, that just means we save it for another time.
Exactly. So, in a future episode,
yes,
you will get to see that. That's a beautiful place this summer, too, so
yes.
Almost any time of year.
It's the nice thing. We have plenty of cars to drive and plenty of roads to explore.
God, that's gorgeous.
That is stunning. This is perfect. This is exactly what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
I love that we get to share this. So now we're back in the studio. That was a really fun drive.
It was a long drive, but it was a lot of fun.
It really was. And now it's time for the Haugland Score.
Here's how it works.
Alex and I have individually rated the car in 5 categories, each with a rank of 0 to 10. Then we add our scores together to give us the final Haugland Score.
After we combine our scores, the results go up on the board. So for performance, I gave this car an 8.5. It isn't the fastest car we have in the collection. It really, though, handles incredibly well, feels nimble, feels very solidly planted.
I'm laughing because I gave it an 8.5 too. Because it brakes well, it accelerates well, not as quickly as some of our other cars. It doesn't need to. The steering is precise. I always feel like it's doing what I want it to do. And it can go pretty fast. So I really, really enjoyed it. So 8.5 for performance. So for style, I gave it an 8.25. And the reason for that is because I feel like it's very distinctive. It's very Giugiaro. I also feel like it influenced other cars after it.
And I gave it a 7.75. I love the styling on this car in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things that are so screamingly 1980s, like the box flares and things like that. It's like really cool, really obvious that it's definitely a styled, upgraded version of the car. But at the same time, I think it went a little bit too far into the slightly loud category. I still love it though.
Yes.
So for drivability, I gave this car a 9. I really could pretty easily drive this car every day. It could very easily be an only car for me. There's a couple things that are just a little bit unfortunate about it. One is parts availability in the US is harder. The other one is it is a bit loud, a little bit uncomfortable in it. Overall, it's still a very drivable car.
I also gave it a 9. 4 doors, 4 seats, 4-wheel drive. It has air conditioning.
Yep.
It has a decent amount of storage. I could literally daily drive this.
Absolutely. If we're a little bit quieter and had cruise control, 10,
Yes,
no matter what.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, still very good.
Yes. So for significance, I gave it a 9.25. It has a long established and illustrious racing history. It had a long production run. This is the peak of that run. This is the end. It also sold very well. It was very popular. And this is the last rally car that Lancia came out with before they stopped rally racing. And so it's significance in their history as well as history in general for automotives.
I give it an 8.5 for almost identical reasons. And that really kind of comes down to the fact that it is an influential car everywhere but the United States, it seems. There's a lot of people here who know what it is, and the number of people who came up to us when we were driving this around going, I've never seen one in person before, I've loved this car since I was a child. Things along that line. It definitely had an impact here. So its influence is slightly less just for that reason. But still an amazing car.
Yes.
For delight, I gave this car a 9, and it may seem sort of odd given that it didn't come to the United States, but the number of people who are excited about this car, who know what it is massive. The number of people who have never seen anything like it, everyone who looks at it knows that it's something special. Even if it's not necessarily knowing what it is, it causes a lot of delight in the, I just saw something weird and different today I've never seen before.
And I gave it a 10 for almost identical reasons. I loved driving this car. I adored driving this car. I almost didn't want to get out. And everyone who saw it loved it. I mean, we got so many smiles, so many thumbs up.
I mean, we had some guy in his Subaru Outback roll down his window on the freeway, stick his arm out and thumbs up us.
Yes.
We had several people who were watching us as we drove by, not paying attention to the road. That bit, please don't do.
Yes, don't do that. That's dangerous.
Admire it, but be safe.
Yes.
So, it I think deserves that. We've done the math, and that gives us a final score of 87.75 for our 1994 Lancia Delta Integrale Evo 2. That puts it in first place as a new top of the pile, right ahead of our Ferrari 250 GTE.
That makes sense to me, honestly.
It is an amazing car. There's a reason I was chasing one for years before I finally found this one. And I'm very, very happy with it. I mean, there is sort of the idea of don't meet your heroes. In a lot of ways, this was one where it's like, I kind of knew what to expect, and when I got it, it met those expectations and probably then some. I absolutely love driving this car.
This car, I fell in love with it in a way that I did not with the Ferrari. I felt like we really had a connection.
There's a lot of things that are advantages that it has that makes it dang near a perfect car. I mean, it is a small four-door family car from Italy turned into a rally monster and thus becoming such a dominant car in the culture of automotive motorsport that in a country where people have never had this car imported, there are people who are exceedingly excited about the fact that it exists and that they get to see one.
And it made me so happy when we were out because it reminded me that this is why we're doing this show. This is why we are collecting these cars, is so that we can take them out and share them.
We don't want to hide cars away in our collection. We want to be out there and share them, let people experience them, let people understand what's going on with them. That's a big part of the reason this channel happens, and it's a big part of who we are as car collectors. If we were putting these away and hiding them from everyone, there'd be absolutely no point to having these cars. If they don't go out on the road and get used and get absolutely filthy like this one did, then why bother? With that, that's another episode in the can. We've got another special car with some interesting earlier rally connections coming up, and we'll see sort of where we end up from here.
So again, thank you for liking, subscribing, telling your friends, connecting with us, leaving us comments. We appreciate you. Please keep it up.
So if you haven't checked it out, we have updated our website. It is now live and it's still getting more data put on it, but you get to see the new format, new content out there. It is much, much better. It's more closely integrated with this channel. It's a great place to go and see what cars are in the collection, what cars we haven't filmed yet for many of them, as well as help us figure out what we should film next. Make your comments here. Let us know. Take a look at the website to find out what some of the options are.
Remember, be good, drive safe, and until next time,
Bye.
bye.